In today's episode, we're gonna do some welding exercises with my wrong hand, and I'm gonna compare them to welds that I did with my good hand. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode from Pacific Art TIG Welding. My name's Dusty. I'm a welding artist from Vancouver Island, Canada. I do welding art projects in both 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional surfaces. And on my channel, I love showing off and teaching the art of TIG welding. So I had a funny idea. I thought, I wonder how good my right hand is compared to my left hand. Anybody that watches my channel knows I'm a lefty. It was only when I went back to school that I was helping some other students get practiced up a little bit. I was starting to give demos with my right hand, and my right hand sucked. Super bad, super awkward. I couldn't feed worth a damn, and I haven't really done it since. So I figured, let's do some simple exercises. Today I got 3 different joints. We're gonna do a pass on a flat piece of plate. This flat piece of plate is a 5000 series of aluminum. It's been cleaned. It's 4.6 millimeters or 3/16 of an inch thick. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a lap weld. The lap weld is 2 pieces of 3.2 millimeter or 1/8 inch material. And the last one we're gonna do is again with the same thickness of 3.2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch thick, and we're gonna do a T fillet weld. So I'm gonna try and shake off the jitters because I'm already nervous. I always get nervous when I go to film, but we're gonna get into it. This one's gonna be fun, stick with me. So for machine settings on the CanWeld 201 Pulse D today, obviously we're setting up for aluminum, so we're gonna be on alternating current, so AC. For amperage, we're gonna be set up for about 200 amps. Again, 200 amps is just on the panel. I'm gonna use the foot pedal, so the foot pedal is gonna dictate how much of that 200 amps I'm gonna use. About 4.5 seconds of post flow. The balance is on 30% to the positive side, so definitely a little bit more cleaning action. And we're on 100 hertz for the frequency. Again, quick blast of pre-flow, real quick. 200 amps, let's do it. Okay, so for a torch setup real quick here, I'm using a 2% lanthanated tungsten with a ball on the end. I like to ball. I have a 332 gas screen with a wedge collet on the inside. These are the ones I prefer from CK Worldwide. And then I'm using a number 6 cup. Put it all back together. Boom, we're ready to go. All right, let's get her going. I got a halfway mark scribed on this plate as well as my other 2 over here. So I'm basically gonna travel from left to right as I would normally because I'm left-handed. And then what I'll do is I'll start in the exact same position, go from right to left. And we'll meet in the middle and see if we can make them look the same. All right, this is an exercise I do pretty often on my channel. You probably see me do it a few times. It's just a great way to warm up before you start doing some more difficult passes. It gives you something simple to focus on so you can practice getting your settings down as well as basic technique. I recommend everybody warm up this way. As you can see, I'm about to come up and stop on the line right here. Okay, pass number 1 laid down, not too bad. Let's set up and do the other half. Okay, now with my hands backwards, holding the torch in the other hand, you can tell my filler rod hand is definitely super awkward. I feel very fumbly with it. You can tell I look a little bit robotic in that shot there from the side. Definitely not the same type of control that goes in with the good hand. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy first. As you can see, the left-handed pass here turned out pretty darn good, and compared to the right-hand pass, not too bad. Definitely some slight differences between the 2. Overall, everything stayed relatively clean, which I'm always stoked about. That's number 1 for me is cleanliness. And then we could take a look at the width of the pass. We could see the consistency of the width was pretty decent. I didn't stay as straight with the right-handed pass. One thing I am pretty stoked on, my stepping consistency is pretty equal for the most part. And then for my for my right-handed pass, we got some tight stuff here, but overall, relatively consistent for the flat one, so I'm pretty stoked on that. But again, taking a look at it from above, you can see there's a little bit of slight difference between the 2, but overall, somewhat consistent. I consider that one a win. Okay, let's do the next one. All right, so here's the lap weld. So I'm actually doing an overhand position, which is what I call it, when you point the plate the other way, so your hand is over the higher end of the lap weld. It's easier to film this way. So watch as I get to the end, I leave the last dab empty. I don't put filler in it, so it sits rather flat. Lets me tie in with the profile later. So in this angle here, you can see my filler rod is in line with the joint. And even though I've got okay technique, you can tell I'm still being a little bit too shy with the filler rod. The puddle is not blending fully to the bottom plate. I'm being pretty awkward with it. But I'm focusing on trying to stay steady and in line with my posture, especially as I come towards the end here.
Okay, so looking at our first pass here, not too bad. There's a couple things I would pick apart with that one, but overall, we'll consider this one an okay weld for now. Compared to the second half, we definitely had some differences. As you can see, the stepping consistency between the two halves was completely different. I took a different approach with the right-handed pass. I went with more of a crowded stepping consistency. One thing that you will notice is that when you crowd things too much, you tend to have issues with overfilling a little bit. And what happens with overfilling is you can contribute to something called cold lap. Basically, this is at a low edge of a weld where you can have a little void. It's not a void really, it's more of a lack of fusion. So lack of fusion can occur usually at the toe of a weld when you have a little bit too much fill. So that's something you want to watch for when you crowd a little bit too much. This stuff here was okay because I had a little less fill going on. With a little less fill, it's okay to crowd a little bit more. You'll get a more blended toe, which is okay. But as you can see, I tended to overfill a little bit here, and that's why we got this kind of lack of fusion on the bottom there. But overall, considering I did one with the wrong hand and one with the right hand, the one with the correct hand looked pretty dope. But yeah, the one with the wrong hand looks a little bit weird, but it's all good. Maybe it's just because they're compared to each other, sitting right next to each other. But overall, kind of funny to see the difference between the two. So interesting. We're getting a little more difficult here. Let's try the next one. Okay, I'm hitting it with full amperage almost right away here. I'm hitting it hot and fast. It's easier to get blended edges to both sides. This is always the most difficult one to film. As you can see, my hand is just sneaking past the weld lens there. It's never ideal filler rod angle when I'm filming this joint, but I gotta deal with it. Here we go, once again, coming up to center. I'll leave that last one hollow so it sits nice and flat. And unfortunately, I thought I had my camera angle dialed, but as you can see, it turned out of focus. I'm sorry, everybody. Okay, so here's our fillet weld. So again, the first half, not too bad. Relatively decent shape. Again, if I was setting up for something properly, I might do it a little differently, but overall for the demo we did here today was it was all good. Nice and clean again. And then when we compare it to our second side, once again, we look way different. We got a different stepping pattern for sure. You will see, I will totally admit, there is not enough filler rod used on the second half. I was too shy. As you can see, especially around this area here, I lose a lot of puddle definition. My puddle definition is much different here compared to how it is here. You can see individual puddle shape and everything nice and center, relatively straight the way we want it there. But then going back over here, it tends to look a little bit crusty. You see this like fuzzy stuff in the middle here. That's definitely due to overheating simply because of a lack of fill. So lack of fill, you will lose that puddle definition. You will get overheating. It tends to get a little bit more frosty looking. But again, looking at the footage, freaking footage was out of focus. So I apologize for that. But that's how it goes. I'm filming by myself in here. So that was pretty fun. We did 3 exercises that were relatively straightforward, yet we made them super difficult. And guess what? I got some practice out of it. So I recommend everybody giving this one a crack. This one was fun. I encourage everybody to try this exercise out. It's super humbling. If you've been TIG welding for a while, you'll realize there's a lot of habits that you do really well with one hand and struggle immensely with the other. Do these same exercises I did here today. Tag me on Instagram. I want to see them. My Instagram handle right there. So join in on some of the fun. If you learned anything in the episode today or any of the episodes you see on my channel, here's how I ask that you repay me for it. Go out today and do a random act of kindness for a stranger. I don't care what it is. Help someone fix their car if they're broke down on the side of the road. Write something nice on a stranger's Instagram. Whatever, I don't care. Just do something nice. I want to give a shout out to my boy Danny. Danny's a student who went through my online training program, and I stay in touch with Danny. He's become a really good friend. There was a knock on Danny's door one day, and it was a dude. He had a backpack, he had a rake, a shovel, and some work gloves. He said he needed some work to do and he had to get some money together to make rent for him and his family. So Danny said, absolutely, sure, you can help clean up my yard. I was gonna go out there and do some work myself. So Danny and this guy worked together for a little while in the yard, then they took a lunch break. Danny went inside, made him a sandwich, let the guy have his lunch in peace. Danny took this photo here. This is a super, super cool picture. This is the dude just chilling, eating his lunch. Danny put this picture on Facebook and basically started a GoFundMe on the spot. Basically said, hey, anybody got a few extra bucks, chuck them in the fund. Danny ended up raising enough money to pay like 3 months of this dude's rent. So, incredible story. The guy came back later with his kids, introduced them to Danny. Just wanted to say thank you. And that was just a crazy story. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to shout Danny out. That's exactly the type of positive vibe I want to spread with my channel. This is exactly the stuff I want to hear. If you have cool stories like this, or something that you've done recently, or something that you go today and do because of what you watched here today,
drop them in the comments below. That's what I'm all about on this channel, is sharing knowledge of welding, having fun, and trying to create positivity in the world right now. We need it. So everybody else, do your part. Again, thank you very much for watching the episode today. I really appreciate it. My name's Dusty for Pacific Arc TIG Welding. We'll see you next week. Peace.